Jesus said to his disciples, "When the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, he will sit upon his glorious throne, and all the nations will be assembled before him. And he will separate them one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will place the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, 'Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. A stranger, and you welcomed me. Naked, and you clothed me. Ill, and you cared for me. In prison, and you visited me.' Then the righteous will answer him and say, 'Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? When did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? When did we see you ill or in prison and visit you?' And the king will say to them in reply, 'Amen, I say to you, whatever you did for one of the least brothers of mine, you did for me.' Then he will say to those on his left, 'Depart from me, you accursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. A stranger, and you gave me no welcome. Naked, and you gave me no clothing. Ill and in prison, and you did not care for me.' Then they will answer and say, 'Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or naked or ill or in prison and not minister to your needs?' He will answer them, 'Amen, I say to you, what you did not do for one of these least ones, you did not do for me.' And these will go off to eternal punishment, but the righteous to eternal life." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise you, Lord. We just celebrated another Thanksgiving, and I'm sure we had our fill of turkey and pumpkin pie. I was very thankful this year for being out in Arizona with my parents for Thanksgiving Day for the first time in several years. You've never really experienced Thanksgiving until it's 85 degrees and sunny out, and you feel like a turkey roasting in the oven. But maybe you got the chance to spend time with family as well. But not everyone has the same blessings. I heard a story about a lady named Tracy, who many years ago on Thanksgiving Day was trying to prepare for the day, but unlike everyone else around her who was preparing this big meal, all she had was a few cans of food in her pantry. She was a single mom of a 3-year-old. She was 8 months pregnant. She was relying on food stamps and welfare for her livelihood, and she had pretty much nothing, and she was getting ready to pick out which can to open up, when all of a sudden there was a knock on her door in her apartment. And she opened the door, and she was surprised to see a man standing there with bags and bags of food. He was from a local restaurant, and he said that someone had anonymously called the restaurant who had taken notice of Tracy and her kids and asked that a whole Thanksgiving meal be prepared, be delivered for Tracy. There was a turkey and all the fixings and everything. And the man had no idea who had called, and Tracy was amazed that someone had first of all, had noticed her, but had even taken the time to do this anonymous gift and didn't even want to be recognized. She was so moved with this generosity that she found herself crying most of the day. And she tried to find out who had given her this gift. She called her parents in another state. She called some friends. Nobody knew. But this gift completely changed her life. She herself became much more generous after that. She would always look for ways to do little acts of kindness, even anonymously for other people. She began to go to night school and became a nurse. And many, many years later, when she was working as a nurse in the hospital, a woman came under her care whose name was Margot. And Tracy recognized Margot from the time when she was in that apartment on welfare. She was also living there. And Margot was dying of multiple sclerosis. And just a few days before she died, she reached out and grabbed Tracy's hand on her bed and said 2 words, "Happy Thanksgiving." And Tracy said, in that moment, I realized finally who had given me that gift. In life, we don't always know all of the people who help us in our lives. And we don't always know all the people that we help. Sometimes just a simple act of generosity, a smile, an act of kindness can go much further than we realize in our troubled world. But Jesus today reminds us that no gift is ever truly anonymous, because we do know exactly who we're giving to. Jesus says, when I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. Whatever you do for one of these least ones, you did for me. Christ is involved in every gift, both on the part of the giver, inspiring the act of generosity, and in the one who receives the gift. That's Jesus. Today, as we celebrate the feast of Christ the King, at the end of this liturgical year, we may imagine a king as someone who is sitting on a glorious throne in a rich palace, wearing great robes and surrounded by a great feast. But Jesus today invites us to see the king somewhere else, to see the king in the poor and the hungry and those who don't have clothing and those who don't have proper housing, to see him in the sick and the hungry and the poor. Jesus is inviting us to see that he is the king. And if we are looking for his kingdom, we need to look for it there. Jesus is the universal king because wherever an act of love takes place, that's where his kingdom is. It transcends any barriers of race or ethnicity or politics. Jesus is wherever love is. Today, I give thanks on this Thanksgiving Day weekend for all the acts of generosity that are done in this parish. All these corporal works of mercy that are described in the gospel today take place in our parish on a regular basis. And sometimes we can always talk about how we need to do more and more, and there's certainly so much need out there, there is. But let's also give thanks for what is taking place. How the hungry are fed here in our parish. At our community meal every Thursday night, at the food drives we do for our local food pantries a couple times a year. Here in our parish, the thirsty are given drink. Our youth just had a wonderful fundraiser to provide clean drinking water for the people of Puerto Rico suffering from the hurricane. In our parish, the naked are clothed when the Knights of Columbus do their clothing drive coming up soon for the Pathways Pregnancy Care Center. The homeless are sheltered when they come to our door here at the office, and we're able to put someone up for the night who has nowhere else to go, or we're able to help them provide for their heating or their electricity. The sick are visited. One of our longtime parishioners here died this past week, Kathy Sapian, and I was not present for her death. I had seen her shortly before I left, but I kept hearing about all the people from our parish who went to go visit her in the hospital. And it was amazing just to see how many people go and see people in the hospital, who visit people in the nursing homes to bring them communion every Sunday. And the prisoners are visited as well. We just had many men from our parish go to the Kairos prison ministry over at the federal prison in Berlin to bring the good news of Jesus Christ to them. All these acts of mercy are taking place. And that means that Christ's kingdom is spreading. Christ is wherever these acts of mercy are happening. I was reading an article recently about King Wilhelm Alexander of the Netherlands. He's been the king there in the Netherlands for many, many years, but secretly for the last 20 years he's been escaping his royal duties, and secretly on the sly he's been flying airplanes for Dutch Royal Airlines. And for the last 20 years he's been in the cockpit and no one's really caught on. Because after 9/11, security measures meant that the cockpit was sealed off anyway, so no one would really see him. He said that when he got on the intercom, no one really paid attention anyways to the pilot, and so no one just caught on that it was the king flying them around all of Europe. And something similar happens with our king, Christ Jesus. He's not where we might expect him to be. He's not in royal palaces. He's not in the fine places. He's among the poor and those in need and those looking for love. And we need to find him there. because that is where he reigns.